Hello, I'm Sarah the Gallifreyan Ravenclaw. Now, I know I said I was going to review episode 1, but then I had a crazy week afterwards, which I will be explaining at some point. And then I did do a review for episode 2, but I didn't think the review was very good, so I didn't actually bother uploading it. So this is number 3. So obviously, spoilers for episode 3. So the big one was obviously the Ruth Doctor returning. And admittedly she was only a memory, but we still got to learn a lot more about her, including seeing for definite that she was a doctor who worked for the division. There might be more than one, but we know that she was the last doctor regeneration to work for the division because they specified that it was her last job. But then we also learnt her team, who she worked with at the division, and obviously we actually worked out a bit earlier than the doctor did that Dan was Carvanista. There was something mention of a dog, and then his weapon obviously was very familiar. But we still don't know the other two, and obviously we don't even know what they look like because she was seeing them as Yaz and Vinda. So it's possible they're actually someone we already know, and if we had seen what they really looked like, we would have recognised. But we also would have to presume that they are dead, because the doctor had said that Carvanese was the only alive member of the division she'd been able to find. Obviously it's possible that they just have their memory wiped or whatever as well, but it's more likely they're actually dead. So some of the things I'd said about episode 2 were that I was annoyed we hadn't got answers from lots of the questions from episode 1. So for instance, what happened to Claire and Diane, who the Scandinavian guy was, who the Victorian guy was, and then the bigger ones like Swarm and Flux and the division, which I doubt will be solved in this series. But now obviously we know what's happened to Diane. She's inside that passenger in sort of prison, and Claire we're going to learn more about in the next episode. And the thing I'm hoping it answers is she knew that she was going to see them again in the past, so clearly knew she was going to encounter an angel at some point, and also knew what it was. She saw the angel and immediately went, "Don't blink." Not many people would know to do that, so she clearly, at the very least, knows what an angel is, if not have actually encountered them before. Then obviously the Victorian guy, I can't remember his name, so I'm just going to call him Victorian guy, we saw again on time. Gaz met him on time, but he never made it to the main room where the Mori were, so we don't know what happened to him. We're presuming he went back home, but other than the fact that he was digging tunnels in 1820 Liverpool, presumably for some alien, we don't really know much about him. We don't even know what alien, but we know we will encounter him again because he was in one of Dan's future memories. And then who Swarm is and what caused the flux will obviously be answered throughout the series. And then the division possibly answer the series, but more likely in the special next year. So there was one other thing in the episode that I had even wondered from the next time, because we saw Yaz doing police work. Now we don't know whether that was a past or future memory, especially since hers were a bit muddled by the angel anyway, but when she introduced herself to Dan in episode 1, she referred to herself as former. When she introduced herself to Vinda, she said serving. Well, in the New Year special, she'd been living in the second TARDIS and didn't even know what the date was. So she can't have been working then. So has she actually left the police or not? I'm not sure. That's just something that it made me think of. So obviously throughout we were seeing Belle, who was clearly looking for someone, and did wonder for a while if it was the Doctor, obviously, but no, she was looking for Vinda. But she gave us an opportunity to see what the rest of the universe is like, so the different sections of the Daleks, the Cybermen and the Sontarans all fighting over everything, and most planets being destroyed. There was also one thing of, my brother was wondering if she was the mystery woman from the New Year special, who, if you don't know what I'm on about, there was a woman hiding behind a car watching the Daleks, who they focused on for a long time, and lots of people were wondering if that was something important. Quite a lot of people online said it was Tosh from Torchwood. I agree that she looked a bit like Tosh and she looks a bit like Belle, but I don't think it was either of them. Probably she wasn't anything. It's just one of those things that people wonder if it was. And obviously I hope we see Belle and Vinda again, preferably together, because they're still trying to find each other. And they're both very useful allies, because obviously we saw Vinda's whole story, and so now know that he'll stand up for what's right, even with the personal cost. And she's obviously very useful, as she was able to destroy those Sagmen. Also on Vinda, we still don't exactly know who his radio transmissions in episode 1 were going to. We can presume it's the same organisation as the old guy who most of the time was Yaz, and the Grand Serpent, but we still don't even know what that is, and even how much power the Grand Serpent has, what planets he's in charge of, that sort of thing. So we still don't really even know what that organisation is, and we don't even know the name of Vinda's home planet, or even what species he is, because I'm presuming he's not human, as he seems to be from the same time, therefore it's not a human colony in the stars, as he seems to be from now, so he can't be from a human colony in the stars, so he must be an alien, but we don't even know what species he is. The other thing was, his planet reminded me of that floating house at the beginning of episode 2. Now it's possible that's just what a planet looks like after the flux has gone through, but it was just, I was wondering if that was actually on Vinda's planet, or what planet that is, and when we'll learn where that was. So obviously I've also already mentioned the Maury and the planet Time, but Swarm says that the division created the planet. Most of what we know about the planet Time and the Maury came from either those triangles in the previous episode, or Swarm's 2 victory speeches. He said all about the division had created the planet to control time. So you wonder why the division had to do that, what the Maury are, how they can survive that thing that was going to kill Yaz and Vinda. I also liked that the Doctor had to learn how she'd done it all those years ago with the division before to be able to save the day again, and use the same method even though she didn't actually remember it, because Swarm had said at the beginning, I have the advantage, I remember all our battles. So she's still using techniques that she used beforehand, even though she doesn't actually remember them. Then obviously there were those blue particle things, which seem to be basically the time version of the flux, because Swarm said all about the planet Time was to balance the bond between time and space or something. So I'm wondering, are they just sort of the time equivalent of the flux, or are they something else? And obviously we know we're going to see them again, because again they were in Dan's future memory with the Victorian guy. And there was also that old lady who was saying that the flux was the Doctor's fault. Now I'm sure someone else has already suggested my first thought, which was that she's the old lady from End of Time, or the orphanage lady, depending whether or not you believe they're the same person, or even Tecteun, which obviously probably some people believe is also the same person. So if it's Tecteun, then that would make sense, because that's someone that, provided that the Doctor really is the Timeless Child, which I'm not getting into that argument, then that is someone that the Ruth Doctor would have known, so therefore that conversation would make sense. But also obviously the orphanage lady is fairly accepted that it's the woman who raised the Doctor, whether or not she's the Doctor's actual mum, and whether or not she is the woman in End of Time, or whether that's the Doctor's mum, that all depends on whether you think looming's a thing, but that's another matter as well. So that's everything I can think of. I'm sure I'll do at least one more this series. It depends on how much happens in episodes 4 and 5, but certainly I'll do one after episode 6, with everything that's happened in the series and everything that we'd be then expecting in the special next year, which I'm pretty sure is going to include Jodie's regeneration. So bye.